Okay, Math 2, Lesson 8.1. Today we're going to be talking about circles and arcs. Okay, so on page 467 here, this is a great picture for you to end up going back and looking at if you ever forget something. But it talks about all the different arcs. Okay, so we're just going to kind of talk through this and you can come back and reference it later. So we have our center of the circle, which is point P there. Okay, AB, that's your diameter because it's going through your center and going to both sides of the circle. Your radius is just a point on the end of the circle from your center. So the radius is half, the diameter is the full length, right? Okay, now what's more important that we're going to be talking about today is that you have a semicircle. And a semicircle is half of the circle. Okay, and so if you were to look up here, a semicircle would be like from A to B. It would be that arc. Okay, the arc is the curved part around the circle. Okay, you have a minor arc, which is smaller than a semicircle. So a minor arc is basically anything that's less than half of the circle. And then there is a major arc, which is larger than a semicircle. Okay? And then you always name arcs by their endpoints. Okay? And this is like a curved line above it. So like RS is a minor arc. And so you have that curved line because that's telling you it's an arc. An arc isn't a straight line, it's a curved line. Okay, we're going to move on to page 468. Are we ready? No? Okay, I'll wait a second. All right. Okay, so we have page 468. If you have a piece of paper that you're writing on, you're going to want to draw this circle that looks kind of like this. Or at least put page 468 so you can look at it later. Okay, so what do you remember about minor arcs? Okay, so I'm just going to write here, smaller than half. Okay, so there are 4 minor arcs here. Okay, so in your group, with someone you're sitting next to, state one arc. Good. I like most of what I'm hearing. Some of you I'm not hearing anything at all. So I usually try to go in some kind of order, starting with one letter and working my way around a circle. So S and P. So SP is an arc, a minor arc. Okay, what's another one? If I keep going in order, I'm going to go PQ, but you could have gone the other direction. And then there is QR and RS. Okay, B, it says, what are the semicircles? What is a semicircle? Good, half of the circle. Okay, so semicircle. You use 3 letters to label these. Okay, so actually going on the arc part, we would have our RSP. So that's one semicircle, and then we have the other side, right? And so that would be PQR. Are we good? Now, why couldn't I use SPQ? Very good. It is not half of the circle. Okay. And then we know that major arcs are what? We can put more than half, that works. Or larger than a semicircle. Okay. So this one says that contain point Q. So what arc could you say that contains point Q and is larger than half? Okay, you're going to use 3 letters for these. Okay, good. QRS would work. Okay, so notice how this is going Q to R to S. Okay, do we see any others? Okay, let's check. Q, P to S. Is that more than half? What's another one we could use? PQS. Yes, we could use PQS. If I go, I'm gonna go back to what you said in just a minute. But if you go PQ to S, could we go the opposite way and go PS to Q? Is that one? Yes. So I'm gonna go PSQ. Looking back at this one when I did QR to S, if I went the opposite direction and went even something like QPR, does that make one? What else? Do we see any others? Somebody said one. SQR. And on your homework, I'm going to have you label, but I just want you to name a couple. But it's hard to get all of them. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so we are going to move on. Still on page 468. I want you to name 2 for each of these. I want you to name 2 major arcs and 2 semicircles. Once you write 2 on number 1, check with your neighbor and see if you guys like check each other's answers, because you guys will probably have different answers, and see if you agree. So 2 major arcs and 2 semicircles. No cell phones during notes. Okay. Did you guys check in your groups? Or you need another minute? Okay, so starting with the major arcs, if I call your name, I'd like you to give me 1 arc. Are you guys ready? Okay, here we go. Michael. Major arc. What'd you say? B what? BFD. Do we all agree that's a major arc? Good. Okay.
No.
Say that again?
Does it matter like which letter has?
No. So we just have to make sure that it's more than a semicircle, but that could have also been labeled as BED, couldn't it have been? Okay, that's the same arc, but you can label it differently. Okay, one more major arc, if I can get one from Presley. What'd you say again? DEF? Oh. Okay, so for the on a major arc, CEF or CDF, those ones are semicircles, aren't they? See how it's not quite more? Or am I not hearing right? So, do you have another idea? Shh. So if I start with D, and I need a major arc, so more than half a circle, DFB would work, yes. Which is kind of the opposite of what we just did here too, huh? Does anybody else have another one? Another semicircle? ECF, good. ECF is another great one. And again, because if I go EC to B, that just makes a semicircle, so we have to make it more than a semicircle. All right, number 2, 2 semicircles. Okay, and there are different ways of labeling these depending on your middle letter. Okay, so, bless you. That's funny. I just called your name Denise, but I'm not going to call you because you haven't been here. Okay, Linda, do you have a semicircle?
BCE.
Good. BCE is a semicircle. Okay, and another semicircle, Cathal. BFE, perfect. Did anybody get a different semicircle or label it differently? Or do you notice another one?
CDF.
Good. C to D to F. Do you guys see how this also makes a semicircle here, how it's half? Okay, so I agree. CDF is a semicircle. Anybody else have another one?
CBF.
Good. CBF. Yep. B as in boy.
E.
Oh, CEF. Yes, that's another one. Okay, do we have any questions on these? Okay, let's move on now. Still on page 468. And we are going to talk about arc measures. Okay, so how many degrees are in a circle? Very good, 360. Your arc angles, there are also 360 degrees. So inside a circle you have 360 degrees, and on the outside this also makes 360 degrees. What happens is if you have an angle that's coming from the center, and this one right here it's saying it's 50 degrees, this arc right here is also 50 degrees. Okay, they are the same. Okay, so if I wanted to know, well, how much is the arc RQ to T? How could you end up finding it? Good. We would go 360 minus 50, and we know that that outside arc is 310. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. We also know that half of a circle is half of 360, which is what?
180.
Very good. Okay. So knowing all of that is going to help us figure out everything. So you can always come back and look at this information on page 468 if you needed help. Okay, so we are moving to page 469 now. And it wants to know what is the measure of each of these things for circle C. Now, I would suggest that we go through and label everything prior to answering the questions. It makes things a little easier. So if this angle right here is 77 degrees, how much is the arc PR? 77 degrees, because it's the same as the angle. Now, do you notice how from P to S right here, how that is a diameter. So from P to R to S, that's a semicircle. How much are semicircles? 180. So how could I find out how much the arc RS is? We would go 180 minus 77, and we find that it equals what? 103. So if that's 103 inside here, this is also 103. Okay, this is 28. How could I find how much the arc length PQ is? Is from P to Q to S also 180 because it's a semicircle? And so in order to find out from P to Q, what would I do? Good. 180 minus 28. And so here we borrow. And I get 152. Okay, so having all of this labeled makes this part much easier. Okay, so I'm going to give you just about 30 seconds to figure out the answer for A, and then check with somebody in your group, and I'm going to call a stick. Okay, so that one should be pretty easy, I hope. And so what is my answer, Robert? So PR, arc length, PR, right here. We already found it. That's it. 77 degrees. Okay, RS. So again, take a minute, find the answer for RS, check with your partners in your group, see if you guys agree with what the answer to RS is, then I'm going to pull a stick. Okay, in your group, say what you think the answer is. Okay, Carlos, what's the answer? Good, 103 degrees. Good. Okay, next one they have P to R to Q. Now this one is more complicated. What are you going to have to do with P to R to Q? So what numbers am I going to add together? Okay, so there's two ways of looking at that. You could add the three numbers or know that you have half the circle plus 28. And so what answer do I end up getting for this? 208 degrees is correct. Okay, and the last one you have PQR. Okay, so figure out the answer for PQR and then check with the people in your group, and I will call a stick. Always start with whatever letters first, and then you follow it. So P to Q to R. Okay, you guys ready? Or need another minute? Okay, Sydney, what did you do? Or what answer did you get? You didn't get an answer. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to talk in your group, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Okay, see if you can figure it out. Okay, 283 is correct, but how do we get that answer? Tell me which numbers to add. So we're starting at P, right? 152 plus, P to Q, and then we're going all the way up to R. So that last one right there is 103. Good. And so when we add all those together, we get 283. Did anyone figure out a different way to add those up or to find the answer? Okay, what'd you do? So Albert noticed that P to Q to R is this whole piece right here, but if I just go 360 minus 77, I can get the same answer because that's the only piece I'm not adding. So another way to find that answer would be 360 minus 77 degrees to get 283 for that arc length. Did anybody else do it a different way? No? The last way is that we know this is a semicircle, and so you could have added the 180 plus 103 to get your 283. So there's 3 different ways here that we saw how to get the answer. Okay, any questions? All right, I want you to turn, I think, is it? Yeah, still on page 469. Number 3. Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes. We have this circle. How much is this right here worth? 90. Good. Okay. All right. I want you to work out numbers 3 and 4. You can work in your groups and check answers. If you need help, raise your hand, and I'm going to walk around and make sure you guys are getting this. You guys have questions?
Or I was like just looking at
like it was out to this just like inside here
open it. Hey.
I guess we're doing them.
I like put my phone away and then my like sitting my phone and I was like, okay, after one. And then he's like, hey, you have to be in. He's like, I want to tell you. Are you doing this? I want to be friends. I could tell you. I'm like, oh my gosh. You want to know what
Anybody have questions? Anybody want me to check some answers?
But then I was like, and then.
Oh my goodness. Numbers 3 and 4, right there.
Oh.
Okay, do I have a volunteer for somebody that'd like to go up and do number 3? Yeah, Albert, thank you.
Everyone,
You want to check our answers?
last week, my mom was like, yeah, I don't even know how to work. Yeah, I just that right.
Oh, you did get your list?
Because I've been driving lots of these.
You should have.
Yeah. So that's like
I still have I still have 2.
Christian?
Yeah, my please. Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Albert's coming up to do this problem for us. One thing that you need to be careful about is that you need to make sure you're going in the order of the letters. So see how it goes CBD? You can't go CDB. You have to go backwards and go C to B to D. You have to go in alphabetical order. All right.
CB.
Yeah.
Okay, so Albert's figuring out that CD part that's missing is 52 based on 180 minus 128. And then what he did was, in order to find the CBD, he noticed that 58, it's everything except for 58. So if you do 360 minus the 58, it gives you the answer of 308 degrees for CBD. Did anybody do that one differently? What'd you do, Aisha?
I added 120 plus 90 plus 90.
Good. 128 plus 90 also works. You still get 308. Perfect. Okay, number 4. Anybody want to volunteer to come up? Albert, you get a candy too.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, Matt, come on up. All right, it's your turn to be quiet. Look at what Matt's doing. See if you agree.
Same.
And that's the answer, 270.
270 is correct. And so again, Matt did this the same way as Albert in that he looked that you go from B to C to D. And so it's everything except for this piece. And so he took 360 minus 90 to get 270. Okay, and then the other way would be 90 plus 128 plus 52. Correct? All right, any questions? Okay, so we're just going to do a couple more problems here, but you're going to skip over a few pages and go to the lesson check, which is on page 473. Okay, and we're going to do numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, and 14. Okay, so notice on number 9, it says, what is the name of a minor arc? It doesn't mean all of them, you just have to name one. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 15 seconds to name one minor arc. And then I'm going to pull a stick. Minor arcs are 2 letters, everything else is 3 letters. So minor arcs, again, are always 2 letters, where major and semicircles are 3 letters. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull a stick here. If you need to talk to somebody in your group first, before I pull a stick to make sure you have it, I'll give you a second to do that. All right, Simran, what'd you get? AB, perfect, bless you. AB is a minor arc. Okay, another minor arc could be BD, CD, AC. All of those are minor arcs. Okay, what is the name of a major arc? Okay, so I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to find a major arc and check in your groups. Remember that you're going to want 3 letters for a major arc. Okay, Connor. I know, you get to tell me what your answer is. Okay, B, C what?
Oh wait. Hold on. It was, yeah, it's
That will not work. Oh wait, just kidding. BCD does work. Okay, so B to C to D is a major arc. And there's a lot of them, right? Okay, so there's another one would be like ACB or ADB. Okay, so we know that major arcs are always more than 180 degrees. All right, what's the name of a semicircle? Linda. Good, CAB. Anybody else have another one? Hannah. Good. CDB. Perfect. Okay, number 12. What is the measure of angle AB? What is the measure of arc AB? Good. 81 degrees. It already told you. This is 81, which means the arc is also 81. Okay, what is the length of the arc BD? We're not going to do circumference right now. So this one is not so easy right here, right? How am I going to figure that out? Hold on. Which one am I looking at? Which number? Which question?
14.
Number 11. Semicircle. What did I write? BD, hold on. So it should have been CDB. Thank you. You can have a candy. Okay. Is that what you meant? Okay. All right. So back to this one. I don't want you to find the length of line BD. I want you to tell me what the measure of the arc BD is. How are you going to find that? What do you notice? Okay, Joseph.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, you add up.
that you could, because it's a semicircle, you could subtract 65 from 180.
Very good. 180 minus 65, and then I end up getting what?
115.
Very good. 115 degrees is correct. Any questions? Okay, we're going to stop there.